Jarvis, my name. The committee, when we think about topics, known the South Pacific Star Party, and I offered this as an opportunity just to share my experiences with the South Pacific Star Party. What is the South Pacific Star Party? It's a weekend star party run by the Astronomical Society of New South Wales. It's an annual event held at their dark side. They have a property, a couple of hundred acres, with quite well-developed facilities, and they run this event once a year. It's in high demand. They open registrations with a limit of 300, and they close the registrations full pretty quickly, well before the close-off date. So it's a popular event. And it attracts obviously a lot of members of the society. It attracts people like myself who are interested amateur astronomers to participate in a group like this. But I was surprised it actually attracts quite a few families and interested people from Sydney, as far away as Sydney and so on. Now, this presentation is just my experiences there, and then follow on from that. Where is it? Ilford, or their property is called Maroona, which is near Ilford. Those that know New South Wales will know Lithgow and will know Mudgee. And if you travel from Lithgow up to Mudgee, come think of the highway, it doesn't matter, on the western side of the Great Dividing Range. And this is a view on the road up to Maroona, looking east across the Kapiti Valley back towards the Blue Mountains. It's a spectacular country. It's relatively high. We're up at 1,000 metres. It's up to 1,000 metres. And it's a long way from any towns, a long, long way from any towns. So it's a dark site. It's a dark site. Myself and my wife, Liz, combined this with a 6-week road camping touring trip in New South Wales and Victoria. And this is our mode of transport. We have a camper trailer sitting behind us, and this is us arriving at the site. You just look carefully to the left, you can see a tiny little sign, street sign, and that's for caravans and people like us. So that's us. Our camper trailer is a bit of a TARDIS. That opens up to that. Bigger on the inside than the outside. There's sleeping quarters, and around the front, a big covered area with kitchens and everything. So that's how we spend our 6 weeks. And this is how we spend it. If you look very closely, you can see a couple of white dots on the image. And that's snow. So we've arrived at South Pacific Star Party, ready for some night sky. And this is what we're greeted with. And it's out, and you can see the trees, it's blowing again. Wonderful. Blowing again. I'll talk a bit about that. However, it wasn't all like that. It wasn't all like that. So that was our camp. When it was a sunny day, it was nice. The sun was streaming in, and you could see the clear skies. So it wasn't all doom and gloom, but it was blessed cold. In fact, that snow was the end of the front that created the floods here. So that big storm that created the floods here whipped up Victoria and up New South Wales and created the snow on the high country there. Other campers, large group of campers. And we're up on the right-hand side there. Interestingly, there's another part of the site where a lot of the Astronomical Society members have set up camps, quite semi-permanent campers, and they virtually live there. Yeah. They'll come down from Sydney or wherever and spend a week there. And there's all sorts of varieties of puppies and some comfortable caravans amongst the bush. They're having a bit of a local council now at a zoning. They're starting to say, look, this is my caravan park. Right. So, those camps off to the right and off to the left, you're starting to see the beginnings of the actual open star field, and you can see a dot. This is snowing again. You can see a dot. You can just see a green dot braving the elements. Just behind me is a large corrugated iron shed. Been there quite a while, and it's probably twice the size of this. Big corrugated, big closed fires in the corners, and that's their meeting room, large presentations and so on. And beside that, they had erected a large marquee in which they had the local scouts doing meals, all the activities for children, daytime activities. There was a photographic competition, all the photographs were hanging up there and so on. So it's a well-developed event. And then off to one side, just beside that was the most important. They did a trade of coffees and hot chocolates. And if you just walk through the bush here, there's a large kitchen, semi-covered kitchen area where 30 to 50 people can cook at once. It's huge. And beside that is a large outdoor lounge area, covered outdoor lounge area with a large fire. So, and then amongst all of this is the open observing field. And this area here filled, this is the Thursday afternoon, not many people there yet. And this field, of course, filled up on the Friday and Saturday. There are some sheds here, all sorts of sheds with permanent setups and permanent telescopes. Some funny little ones that just roll off with a telescope behind it. And then at the other end of the spectrum is this one here, which is a highly advanced, totally automated system that's run out of one of the Sydney universities. So there's a wide range of opportunity there. And then gradually it started to fill up with all sorts of telescopes. Not a careful one, but this is a quite interesting setup. And there were quite a few different ones. Separately, just across a hedge to hide from any light, was the Astro imaging alley. So here there were probably 13 or 14 cam setups with Astro imaging setups, and they were, of course, just solely Astro imaging. One of the activities over the 2 days is, well, there's an Astro imaging photo competition, but one of the other things is an innovations workshop and an innovations competition or judging. And you can see one of the judges here. I thought, well, why don't I go in? Because I have a couple of things I've done on the telescope, which people might be interested. So here's me setting up, and here's the 2 judges having a look at the things that I've got on this telescope here. So there are a range of different activities, a lot of things for children, for families and so on. And I know there've been some doubters. You didn't put any awards. You bought it.
There's a lot you can do with Photoshop.
You can brighten this up whilst you're doing it.
So there's me receiving this little innovations showcase acknowledgement. And that was done during the main, there were some daytime main presentations on the Saturday. A couple of keynote speakers that I didn't think were terribly impressive, and they looked like regurgitated presentations to me. It sounded like they did. I don't think they really added anything. However, the big event on the Saturday, the big draw card is a lucky door prize. And this was sitting on the side of the shed to entice people. The rules were very simple. So your registration number was your lucky door number, and these were drawn during the afternoon presentations on the Saturday. The rule is that you had to, if yours was a winning number, you had to claim it within 30 seconds.
Oh, God.
If you didn't claim it within 30 seconds, it rolled over to someone else. And that was their way of encouraging everyone to at least come to some encouraging violence. Not everyone could fit in the room, the hall. You've got 300 people, and so you get all these people milling outside listening to the PA system. The big PA system listening to the next number drawn. So there's the adults' lucky door prize list. An 8-inch dog, 7-strong, Xudov, Cascade, with a go-to system. A Skywatch Evo Star 72ED, a Skywatcher Sky Panorama 3-piece eyepiece set, a Teleview Delos 14mm eyepiece, Degmeyer binoculars. They're all quite expensive prizes. Unimetrica, volumes 1 and 2 plus Fieldguide, Quasar Publishing voucher, Sky and Telescope, a year subscription, Australian Sky and Telescope, 1 year subscription number 2, and then a Venisphere and 2 bottles of red wine. Venisphere was a tool, cardboard tool, which is split, you rotated things on, a bit like those old calculators or measuring things where you could get, you rotate around, a little window told you things. Well, this one, you input it into this, how many glasses of red wine you had. And that then told you what you could see. So there was a lucky door prize of one of those Vinaspheres plus 2 bottles of red wine to get you going. But then there was another one. You could get the Vinasphere and a red wine bottle. Nothing in the bottle. So, and the other interesting thing, the way they run this lucky door prize is the first person. So the first person who was called out came up, and they could choose anything. They could choose anything. So they choose something that they liked or wanted. And of course, you're sitting in the room thinking, Christ, I hope it doesn't. If I can get, I would really like blah. But someone's in front of me, I hope he doesn't pick it. It was a really interesting exercise. So it certainly didn't go down from number 1. Didn't go down from no one started down here. They were last chosen. However, so it certainly wasn't chosen in that order. So the numbers were basically called out and things went. I didn't wish I could get anything out of that. So that was a bit of fun. Beside it was also a children's lucky door prize. And there was a series of lucky door prizes for children. That's just a photograph of the boy that won the 6-inch doll.
Whoa.
6-inch doll. He went away with a big smile on his face. However, of course, the other side of this, apart from all the daytime things, was night time. The Thursday night, when we arrived, not many people there, not many come on Thursday, most end up on the Friday night after work or whatever, and quite a few only come down for the weekend. Friday night was clear, Thursday night was clear, good clear. So myself and a friend of mine, observing buddy from Barrel, we were set up and we had our observing lists. I was only doing observing, no imaging, and so we had a good night, until about midnight, and then some high cloud. And you can see a hint here that the skies are clear. But one of the things I was really interested in was I looked at some of I had an observing list of new things, but also some favourites, because this is certainly a darker side. I'm pretty dark at tinderbox, but this is darker again, so I was keen just to look at some of my old favourites and the really dark skies. Then all the sheds were open. The owners of a lot of these sheds were open, and you were able to go in, look at the equipment, look through the equipment. Everyone there was very accommodating, very, very helpful, and so a range of images of activity under the night sky. The other, so let's go back. So the Thursday night was clear. Friday night was snowing, galing, nothing on Friday night. And in fact, of the 300 registrations, I think they were saying they only got about 150 people there. So a lot of people just thought the weekend's not going to be any good and didn't come. But then Saturday night dawned clear and it was glorious. And I had my observing list again, but I did not look at a thing for the night. Because
The red wine?
the Vinasphere, yes. No, because my telescope, I got a bit of a showcase at that presentation. I just got swamped with people wanting to look at my telescope. Absolutely swamped. So I had a wretched moment with a queue a mile long and a lot of children and things. So it was good. I enjoyed it. That's what was good enough. The other very popular spot was in the lounge room, which is a big tin-roofed shed, probably about this size, with this giant fireplace in the middle and heaps of old lounges and couches around. And when you're a bit cold, you just went back in here. It was on all day and on all night. So that was fun. But all good things come to an end. And come Sunday lunchtime, there was a group photograph taken. A few people missing, I suspect, but that was most of the group. And that was just before lunch, and then everyone started meandering off. And that was it. Yours truly, anyone can pick me? Where's Ollie? I am here. So that was it. Any thoughts, comments, or questions?
Yeah, I've got a question. When you showed pictures of the sky, I guess you had a bit of look in shining there. It looked rather bright on the horizon, and I was just wondering where that brightness
Sky
was.
glow. There was a bit of sky glow with the.
Yes.
A bit more.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, there's it.
Yeah.
That one.
Yes, yes, I think that's just sky glow. Apparently really long photographs, long exposures aimed east at Sydney, towards Sydney. You will now pick up the faintest long exposures just on the horizon. Just on the horizon, but really you need 8 or 9 hours to do that on the horizon.
Right.
Given that you've got the Blue Mountains between you and Sydney anyway, so, yeah.
If you're observing the Blue Mountains now,
Mm.
to the Blackheath, those
Yep.
sorts of places, it's a complete light blue now.
Mm-hmm.
You
So
see-
that brightness on the horizon there is not coming from the
No.
land,
No, sorry,
from the
that's,
land, from Sydney.
no. In fact, try and get the orientation there. So this is back in May. I'm looking for what I think is Sagittarius. I think that's Sagittarius.
Yeah, so that's near old Fikey there. So that's not Fikey. Yeah, that's a Fikey sea.
Yeah, so that's looking. Time of year, that's going to be looking east.
Yeah.
And so this is sort of southeast down in here.
Well,
Fred Watson says he can see Sydney glow from Siding Springs.
and that's a lot further out than. Yeah, but Siding Springs is much higher. That's a higher altitude.
Yeah, and it's got a slightly, yes, so this is down off the mountains, much closer to the mountains, so it's just a slightly.
That'll definitely be east though, because I think the point is up there.
Yeah.
So south. Yeah, to the right. So that's good.
Now, we had our own little star party last year. Mike drove the idea of a state. We've had a couple of statewide meetings previously, and Mike went and researched the Arana Girl Guides camp at Roches Beach, Beach, and a group last October, November, spent time at Arana, spent a weekend at Arana. It's right on the beach, and that's a sunrise from the camp. It's just far enough away from Hobart to give a pretty good sky. There's not too much interference. There was plenty of camaraderie. That was the main Saturday night dinner, I think, big barbecue, which the tall tales will tell. That. And then, of course, there was some gaps. There were some good moments in the sky, and then some cloud. But plenty of imaging, plenty of sharing of ideas, plenty of learning. We plan a 2018 one, so keep thoughts in the diary. Follow the 12th to Sunday the 30th of October is the next one. And that'll be a statewide. It's on our website, so you'll be able to register through that. Okay, any questions about that? Now, there's this phantom. Cost me many bottles of red wine.
There's a Donald Trump style.
Well, what is this all about? What is this all about? Well, it's about, when I was talking to the judge, I said, look, I've got a number of small things I've done on there to make that telescope a lot more usable and more efficient. And so I'm just going to spend the next few minutes just talking you through some of the little innovations that are on there that led to that acknowledgement. This telescope normally lives on that pier. I've got a pier at the barbecue area. Down the left-hand side, you can just see the barbecue table. And so that's a fixed pier. And normally I just carry, that just slots off. When I take the mount and the telescope off, that rotating set of shelves just pulls off too, just comes off too, and it just leaves a bare pier. So I can just, 6 minutes I can be out there observing. For travelling, of course, it's a tripod. And, but this is the same, you'll recognise the mount and the telescope. We'll just turn this light on. So what have I done? What we might do first up, let's just take this off. Not a distraction. Okay. Well, surveyor's tripod, as some have noticed, starting from the ground up. Tall tripod because it's a long tractor, and then I've engineered or made a couple of extra clamps here just to clamp that tight. And that just gives just total rigidity there. So it's rock solid and doesn't move at all. This is an old azimuth mount, of course, and this is for visual observing only. So the work I've done here is all about visual observing. Richard Higby and others have led me down the dark side, and I have an equatorial mount, but in fact I'm going to put on that pier for astrophotography. This will probably now always result.
Praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord. So this is an outboard azimuth mount. I bought that second hand. Nothing particular about that. We'll show you how it works in a moment. I have a complete Argo Navis system on here, planetarium program on here, and this I can dial up any once I've calibrated it and told it where I am. This is where I am. I can dial up any object on here, and through a series of arrows, it'll just guide me in the telescope to that point. So that's a complete planetarium program. I hardly ever use it. Up till now, for the last 5 or 6 years of visual observing, I've been a star. For two reasons. One, I enjoy the chase and the hunt. Two, I've got my skills to a level where I can actually do it faster than this. And so I'm not spending time looking for, I'm spending time looking at. And the other thing it's done, of course, is I have now have a broad knowledge of a lot of the sky. Now, it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I certainly set out to have a good understanding of the night sky. And the only way you'll do it is star hopping. If you rely solely on these, you'll never really know what it means. This is a very important little gizmo.
There's critique on that as well.
Which Liz crocheted for me. That's just a dew cover.
He has a matching one for his own head.
Did you see it? You probably didn't take much notice. So that's the mount. Most of the innovation is here with the telescope. Now, first thing to note before I put it on, you'll note that I've made up a plate here that's bolted to the telescope. And if you look at that dovetail plate, it's not on the centre line of the telescope. See that? It's not on the centre line of the telescope. Because you've got a whole lot of weight like this and eyepieces, the balance, when you're balancing this way, the balance point is off the centre line of the telescope. So rather than have weights on the other side, I've just measured and offset the dovetail. So it does its own balancing in the vertical axis.
Was it an issue to keep it orthogonal, or?
Oh, well, this is for visual.
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty close. This is for visual. If you start hopping, it's irrelevant. When you have one of these, you can do a model to remove that or compensate for that. Yep. So the other thing, you can come up and have a look afterwards, but on that plate are a series of markings here so that I can get it balanced in the horizontal. I can move it along that dovetail bar, and those little marks there are where I put it, depending on the type of eyepieces and diagonal I'm using there, because that will change the weight at that end of the telescope. So for that eyepiece and that diagonal, I know where on those sort of markings I should put that on the centre point of this dovetail. So I just put that up. The other thing you'll notice, we've got a handle. So it makes it nice and easy to move around. And the other thing is, you notice two long little legs here, that bar. That allows me just to put it down anywhere. Rough ground or anything. And it's not touching anything. That then, of course, that solves any weight problem if you want to move around, it's not.
And stops it from sliding out too.
And also stops it from sliding out if these dates were not, so let's put that back. And you can see it's about 10 kilograms all up there. And I'm back in business. This type of mount has clamps. So, moving the telescope around. Old style telescopes used to have a capstan wheel around them. Here's an old doorknob with a thread on the inside to go into an existing threaded hole in the focuser. So if I just want to move the telescope around, I grab that. How many times do you grab this and
It's not good.
yeah, it's not good. Okay. So it's moving around wherever I want. And you'll notice these mounts just magnificently smooth if you've got them balanced, hence balancing that way and balancing the boom. This is not an innovation, you can buy this for now. But then, because this is not tracking no motors in it, if I'm looking at something, then I'm just simply moving these to keep track of the object. So I can, in fact, I found I can do them with one band, and I can follow it. I can follow it. So no motors, no batteries, nothing else to go wrong. Nothing else to go wrong. Okay.
That brightness will get you.
So remember, I've knocked that off there. Remember I said this is a visual setup. And I've done a lot of star hopping. So guidescope, of course. That's a correct image guidescope, so I'm seeing it's not reverse. And most guidescopes sit down here, don't they?
Yeah.
And so you're up here and you're trying to do that. Well, I worked out quite a while ago that the best way to look through these is to get your whole body below them. So if I'm doing a bit of intricate star hopping to find, being star hopping is a tiny planetary nebula sitting inside the Sagittarius star cloud. It's tiny. And you've got a star hop among stars of about 11th magnitude. Anyone that knows the Sagittarius star cloud would know it's quite dense. So you need to be comfortable. So I can do that. And it's a bit awkward to hold that hand. So I've got another handle underneath here to guide myself around. Star hopping needs a map. So sitting here is Sky Safari 6. Sky Safari 6. And I can be looking through there and I can just manage the size of those star images there to match exactly what I'm seeing through.
Same field of view.
Same field of view. And star hop, when I'm wanting to do a very accurate star hop to find something, and I can focus on that, and then focus on there, and then I've found my object. And the other thing, I planned this fairly carefully because then, wherever this is, this sits at about the right position to look. And then perhaps I'm doing a double star survey in a constellation. I'll be mostly in the same area. So I'm just back here. Yeah, just move across a bit. That's the one I'm after. I've got to hop to there. There's a triangle there. There's another star there. Hop across there. And yeah, I'm over there. It's down there. And there it is. And I just hop back here. And I'm away.
Good question. Where's the study hole?
He doesn't need one, he controls the access with one hand.
So from a comfort point of view, star hopping and using a guide scope, moving up the tube was a revelation in terms of ease of use. Some people get over it by having a right angle one, but you're invariably got to do something else to get you somewhere near the field of view for that right angle one. So that's that, and that's Sky Safari 6 sitting in there. For the sun, I've actually got a little made up sundial, sun sunsight.
Sunsight.
Got a tiny little pinhole and a little white dot and black dot here. Come up and put it afterwards. So I leave that bolt on that permanently, really tight, so that alignment just stays there. So solar viewing, which I don't do much of the names, I don't really sunspots, but solar viewing, if I just get that inside, then I know I've got it in the field of view for solar. Now, last few little tricks. This is an f5.8, 5.75 scope. So focus becomes, the focus point is quite tight. This is a 7-to-1 reduction. Okay? But I've just made up out of rubber this to slot on that, and that converts it to 14-to-1. 14-to-1, and I can accurately focus for visual. If this is in the ground, or it's solid ground, it's nice and stable. If you're on grassy, soft ground, and maybe I've got some papers down there, but you might still, at high power, one of those nights at high power, you might still get a little bit of wobble when you're trying to turn this with your telescope. Anyone had that problem?
Yeah.
Telescope jiggles a bit, high power. Well, an answer to that. And it's this. It's a bit of marine shock cord. Marine shock cord with a little cup and inlet, another old handle from somewhere, and I just put that on there. And if I just hold that there, I can twist that, and none of the vibrations of my hand transmit to the telescope. Totally smooth. Totally smooth. Works well. Works well. Last little thing, which is a board rather than me making it, is I can't sing the praises highly enough of these clip locks. So if I want to take that diagonal off, I just do that, diagonal's out.
Oops.
It's out of balance out. It'll only go so. Just put it back in, and twist, and it's locked. So it's on a diagonal. I've also got just like that. Tight. Same with an eyepiece. If you want to change eyepieces, out.
Let's just are they part of the Vixen?
No, they're beta. They're beta.
Beta, right.
I think some might make them. I
I
haven't
just wondered, I haven't seen this.
well, I think the beta pioneered them. William Optics make them now. I've seen their orange ones. But I can't. They are like cement, Jim. They just will not move. And you're not tightening screws, and screws aren't tight enough. Like something. You just one click and it's out. One move and it's back in.
That N1, Steve, will that fit into the draw tube? That's, you can buy that for any telescope, or is it just a...
Well, that's the standard 2-inch one. You'll need an adapter to screw that onto your draw tube. So between then there's an adapter to go from this to...
That's 2 to 1.25 diagonal.
Yes, so that's a 2-inch. So that diagonal is a 2-inch nose piece and a 1.25 inch piece. You can get 2 to 2, but for this telescope, I don't have any 2-inch eyepieces. Don't need them. This 22mm eyepiece provides 36 times magnification at 2 degrees. That's quite sufficient. They're bought, so that's not an innovation on my part. But I think that's it. Oh, last thing, just finished. Mention I do a bit of solar here. So this is all pieces of cardboard, just made out of cardboard, kind of look afterwards, but it's rolls of cardboard rolled around with glue to create something quite thick and heavy. And then, of course, an ordinary solar film. Sorry?
Looks like the bar.
That's the barter film, yep. And that, of course.
I make 2 of those for my 100mm binoculars.
Yes, I've got one of these for each telescope. I had to put, there's a sort of a rim around this side. If I put it in like that, I won't have any way of getting it out. So if I put it in this way, I've got a ridge here that I can actually pull it back out. So when the sunspot's coming around, I have to look. I'm involved in a project in the States, well, it's mostly the States, but it's worldwide, analysis of a range of double stars. And to do that work, you need a range of aperture masks to stop down the aperture. So I might get, that's 140 millimetre, 5.5 inch, but you want to see what the results are at 120 millimetre aperture. If I just put that in there, again, that's just that rolled cardboard. I'll just put that in there. So the telescope's now 120 millimetre. And if I put that in there, it's now a 100 millimetre telescope. Right down to a 60 millimetre. So it's nice and simple, just bits of cardboard.
So what does that allow you to do?
So this is testing. This is testing the resolution of telescopes and the resolution of double stars. So double star, there's a rally limit which gives you what a telescope will resolve down to if the stars are sort of equal magnitude. But if one star's bright and the other one's faint, that rule goes out the door. And so you have a very close double star, one's bright and one's very faint. There are some reasons why you might want to know what size telescope can actually resolve that as a double star. And so what you'll do is you'll start with your big aperture, you can see it. Yeah, so typically the double star might be, the separation of the double star is perhaps 1 arc second. So you can write it down 1 arc second. And at 1 arc second, a magnitude difference of say 3. So I'll see it in that. I'll see it at 120. And in fact, I was doing this the other day for a star in Ophiuchus. And it's 120, I can still see it. Down to 100. Down to 100, I can still see it. Getting very difficult. It's getting fainter, of course, net less light. It's getting very difficult. When I put the 90 in, 80, 60, I have those in the right order when when I put the 90 in, that double star, you could just see the faint star kissing the other star. You couldn't see a gap between the two. When it went down to the 80, all I could see was an irrigated blob. One part of the blob was bright, the other part faint. So you're reporting those sort of functions. So that's just bits of cardboard, rolled bits of cardboard. So that's, all of these things are just born out of a natural inquisitiveness to find simpler and more comfortable, more productive ways of using a telescope. And that's all it's driven me. I've been using this as a visual instrument for about 5 years. As I mentioned earlier, I've indulged on the dark side with astrophotography, and I'll probably end up doing the same thing with that mount. I bought a second-hand equatorial mount. I've got another small 100mm telescope, right? Got myself a camera, and I'll start doing some astro imaging also.
I think jokes aside, I think the certificate was well deserved. Well done.
Yep, that's it.
Next trip is to Shark Tank.